Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Trading 101 on 6++. It is I, your host, Tom, very lowest of men. Thank you to everyone who's tuned into this series so far. We are back today with some of the best Xenos trading units in 40k. This was a request. I was going to do Chaos next, but they'll have to wait. I'm very happy to do Xenos. As we all know, I'm a big Xenos fan. So what I've done is same as the previous episode. I picked out one good trading unit from every Xenos army. I'm going to talk a little bit about why it's good, how it works, what its function is, and why you might want to consider it in your Xenos lists. As ever, there are many different ways to trade. I will try to outline the particular kinds of trading in play. And if you're in any doubt about what I'm talking about, I can refer you back to our Trading 101 video that went out at the start of this series a couple of weeks ago. Thanks to everyone who's commented and supported this series so far. It'll probably be Chaos next, unless there's some kind of radical intervention on the part of Space Marines. And I'll try and keep this going and work out some new areas and go into some new kind of angles moving forwards as well. Please do hit like and subscribe, leave us a comment. Remember, you can sign up on YouTube, support us financially that way if you're so minded as well. And if you'd like to get some coaching or mentoring with us at 6++, we'd be more than happy to help. Get in touch via our Discord, links in the description below. Right, let's dive into it. I am going to exercise some favoritism, and I'm going to start with the Gene Stealer Cults. So they are the army I've currently been playing the most in 40k, particularly Biosanctic Broodsurge, which is in many ways a trading and anti-trading army. So I'm going to start with the Aberrants. Here we go. Big chunky boys. They are in the more premium range for a trading unit, but that for me is because they do a whole number of things quite well and quite uniquely in GSC that mean they are very well worth taking. They are chunky. They are, for 135 points, you are getting 3 wounds, 5 up, feel no pain, toughness 6, -1 to wound if they're led, and a lot of damage to attack. So they are very good at going through sort of medium-sized infantry in any GSC detachment. And also in Biosanctic, they can have +1 to wound against vehicles, at which point they're a threat against vehicles as well. Nothing goes into this and has an easy time chewing through it unless it's a very, very elite quality of unit. So once Aberrants are out, the opponent needs to commit decent resources to deal with them. Obviously, in GSC, you have the option of resurrecting them, and with the new Resurgence mechanic, you can bring back 2 squads of 5-man Aberrants in a game. So you're effectively playing with 5 squads if you take 3, which is really, really powerful, and again, creates an anti-trade situation. They send a good melee unit because they have to. They kill the Aberrants, you bring them back, then you hit in reply. Very, very effective. You can put great characters in this unit, but they actually do work on their own as cheap throwaway units as well. But obviously, this is where you can have the Abominant, who has the 2-up, get back up energy. So that's another anti-trading dimension within this unit. He gives Aberrants fight on death, which again, anti-trades really violently, makes this a very costly trade for the opponent too. And Biosanctic in particular, you've also got a Revenge Mortal Wounds strat. If they kill through to the Abominant, you can do several, 2d3 mortal wounds to something that's killed the unit as well. So particularly for combat armies, going to deal with Aberrant is really unpleasant. And with the Abominant, with his sort of 2-phase, needing to kill him in 2 phases, it's also a really obnoxious unit for shooting armies as well. So cannot sing the praises of Aberrants highly enough. I am always running 15 minimum in my Biosanctic lists. Moving it along, we're going to go to the Orcs next. Now, Orcs is an interesting one. I'm going to pick out the Burner Boy unit today. I think Orcs, both in Tactical Brigade, which is emerging as a powerful detachment, but also in Warhorde, tend to be a bit of a go army. They are more of an overload army, but knowing when to overload is a very big deal for Orcs. You don't want to do it too soon. And especially with Tactical Brigade, which has some great shooting, but on still relatively fragile models, you need to bait the opponent out. I really like Burner Boys in Orcs because they can fit in a truck. Nice little 5-man. They are very cheap. I think they're 60 points for 5. And they are great at going out, doing early cards, hosing away any cheap screens or blocks from the opponent with their flamers, creating an Overwatch threat if your opponent wants to send anything cheap and cheerful out to do jobs themselves, and just forcing the issue and drawing the opponent out. They're cheap enough that you're not going to miss them. They can also contribute to a go turn if the turn emerges and you still have them. And they're just excellent, cheap utility and all-rounders in the early skirmishing in a game, which can help you set things up nicely for when the time comes to overload and properly full send the army. So very effective in Orcs. And Orcs, especially Tactical Brigade, are going to want to play a little bit of give and go before they commit their heavy hitters now. So they're particularly invaluable there. I've definitely seen them used as a very cheap reserves threat as well, but I really like them as just throwaway start of the game units into the middle to get things moving. Next up, we are talking Necrons now. Necrons, again, not really a trading army because they will tend to absorb enemy pressure and then roll them back. But you need to get things started and you need to get your army to the midboard. What better way to do it than with flayed ones. And I'm including the old flayed one model here because I just think they're really awesome. Look at that horrible skin all over them. I remember when these came out, they're absolutely incredible. The big thing for flayed ones is that they are a decent skirmishing melee unit, a whole bunch of damage one attacks, and they can infiltrate into the mid-board at the start of the game. Necrons aren't the quickest army in the game, so I think being able to have a presence there is really useful. You can hide them away so they can skirmish with other enemy skirmish units, and if the opponent does send things to try and deal with them, you can then yeet the rest of your army out to go and kill those things and get the rest of your army mid-board. So flayed ones are really useful, cheap enough that you can do scoring or combat depending on what you're interested in. And of course, they are a reanimating unit. So I actually quite like a 10-man, but the 5-mans, obviously, if the opponent undercommits, they're just going to grow back. And obviously, like all Necron units, high toughness makes them obnoxious as well. So yeah, I think flayed ones offer an awful lot to a Necron army that wants to get into position and start the party. Not necessarily a trading army, but still, if you are having a trading asset, I think the flayed ones do a wonderful, wonderful job. Moving it along to the Perfidious Eldar, we've got Fagen. There's his lovely new model. Fagen is an anti-trade piece, right? He's not at all easy to kill with he's got a good save, invuln, feel no pain, but he also has get back up again on a 2-up when he dies. So that again is creating an anti-trade situation. The opponent's going to be forced out to deal with him, and then there's the risk that he's going to stand up. Unlike some anti-trade pieces, Fagen is also like a tank killer in his own right. He's got a fantastic D6+6 melter gun. That's brutal into the right opponents. There's no single shot coming through from the lance there, but he also has a sustained sort of multi-shot profile, so he can be a marine killer, and his combat is fantastic as well. He is very dangerous for his points, capable of going and fighting with a whole bunch of different units. So he's just not something you can ignore, but he's also very obnoxious to deal with. So obviously he's seen some points rises. I still think Fagen is invaluable in an Eldar list. Just an absolute pain in the arse. Really, really effective. Next up, we have a much more meat and potatoes honest trading unit from the Leagues of Votann, and that is the Berserks. Now, Berserks are just a really good punchy trade piece. They themselves have a 5-up, feel no pain, and one of the guys in the unit has a mole launcher, so he's got 3 wounds. So they're good at absorbing particularly skirmish level output in exchanges. They have 4-up fight on death, so anything going into them is at risk of getting slapped back as well. And you can equip them with very nice strength 9, AP2, damage 3 hammers. Obviously, in Leagues of Votann, in the Oathband attachment, you can soup this up to be AP3 or AP4. It can have +1 to hit and wound against a target, which means that Berserks are very, very capable of punching up. And you do see people running big 10-man bricks as a sort of anti-trade piece that just you cannot send anything light to deal with it because it will simply kill that unit and absorb it. But I think they work really well in 5-mans in Sagittars as well. It's very easy to get them staged mid-board, use them as your initial exchange fighting threat. When the opponent does kill off the Berserks, then you're getting judgment tokens as well. So they serve multiple purposes in that sense as well. So yeah, big fan of Berserks. They've been really good for several months now. I think they remain extremely effective. Alrighty, taking it over to the Tau. Tau are interesting. I think Tau struggle a little bit for trade pieces. They often have to do it via cheap chaff. But one unit I love in the Tau trading game is the Piranha. The Piranha can come out, force battle shocks. It's got some fusion shooting, and it has the same sort of effect as, I guess, the Invader ATV in Space Marines, where it's cheap enough, cheerful enough, but also durable enough that the opponent can't simply throw absolute chaff to deal with it. It needs to be something that can at least fight or shoot effectively to clear a Piranha and your Tau. So if they're sticking out good shooting, that means you can stick your even better Tau shooting back at them and blast them away. Having Scout move on the Piranha helps it get into the mid-board where it can start doing this. It can be very nice for sort of taking gambles to try and pop or damage transports early in the game, get rhinos open, those sorts of things, or charge into things and tie them up. And it's a throwaway piece that can trade for time and space through blocking as well, which I think Tau armies often need. They need to be quite proactive in the game sometimes to get into good positions to actually hurt the opponent. I think the Piranha can definitely help with that. Definitely an aspect of the game that can be a bit rough for the Tau, though. Next up, we have the Tyranids, and it is, of course, the Vanguard organism itself. It's the iconic Lictor. I really like the Lictor. It's cheap and cheerful. I think 60 points at the moment. It is a little sort of monster unit, infantry unit that can just sort of be stashed away mid-board. It's got a bunch of marine-killing damage attacks. It's got fights first, so it's very difficult for a Marines-type unit to go and skirmish with because it's going to hit them first and do a bunch of damage. And it's a lone op as well. So it's very good for drawing the opponent out. Only certain kinds of things can deal with a lictor, which in turn, again, is drawing the opponent out onto the rest of the army and onto the rest of your guns and your damage dealers. So I think they're hugely effective. They can score, they can hide, they can trade, and they can also push forwards into the enemy lines as well. And I've definitely had lictors do that and be an absolute pain. So yeah, massively rate the lictor. It's a fantastic pain in the arse for the opponent to deal with. Alrighty, that takes us through to our final one. And just as I started with an army I like, I'm going to finish with an army I like as well, and that is the Drari, and it's this little pest, Urian Rakarth. Now, he's no Fagen, but he's still incredibly annoying. Urian Rakarth also has 2-up, get back up again energy, which means the opponent need to put things on objectives to stop him holding them, which means that you're going to be close to your other nasty Drari melee units lurking behind the lines. I often like to have him stashed near to a fight's first unit, so if they want to kill Urian in the turn, they need to shoot him first, kill him. When he gets back up, they also need to fight him, at which point I'm going to intervene in with a Court of the Archon or a Lilith and cause mayhem in the middle objective. So the Urian trap is really very, very annoying for an opponent to deal with, and certain armies really struggle to answer it. Urian himself is a 4-up Invan, 4-up Feel No Pain with 5 wounds, so he is deceptively obnoxious to kill. He's very good at skirmishing with infantry. If he's empowered, he's got a bunch of AP2 anti-infantry 2-up damage D3 attacks. So he's good at going in and skirmishing with light infantry himself. And once per game, he's got a little 3d6 casket flamer, which itself has dev wounds as well. So he can be very nice for just plinking the last couple of wounds off of something in a go turn. And I really like pushing Urian up to screen space to draw things out and counterattack with. He's a very good early game scoring and skirmishing unit. Very, very obnoxious. And unlike Fagen, he's cheap as chips, only 80 points. Feels like money in Drari at this moment in time. All right, guys, those are my Xenos trading unit tips. I hope you enjoyed them. Please do hit the old like and subscribe and leave us a comment. And it'll probably be chaos next, unless there's some kind of radical intervention in the comments. So I'll see you again next time. Let me know if there's any other aspects of trading or indeed overloading you would like me to cover. I'm planning to do an overload video once I finish this run through with these videos. Fantastic. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day. Lowest of Men out. Bye-bye.